With the slew of 11th gen Intel chips, laptop manufacturers are re-releasing their current laptops with updated specs. Now, the MSI Prestige 14 Evo is one of those laptops, and it even has a new moniker there, the Evo moniker, and that is just not to act as a distinction between the 10th gen and the 11th gen, but it's also having the Intel Evo certification. So let's talk about what Intel Evo is all about. Technically, if you remember the Intel ultrabook standard from like 2012 or 2013, somewhere around there, this is technically version 2 of that. So for a laptop to be Intel Evo certified, you need to fulfill a total of 6 different criteria. So we'll be basing the review of this laptop on those 6 aspects. So let's begin. So let's start off with the specs first. This laptop comes with an Intel Core i7-1185G7, yes, the highest end in the Tiger Lake series, and it also has the Intel Iris Xe graphics, 16 gigs of RAM with 4267 MHz, and also 8-channel memory, don't know what's going on, and also 512 gigs of NVMe SSD. As for how it performs, it is actually beyond my expectations, because when we ran a few games and all of those stuff, everything works fine until we realize that the maximum operating wattage is well beyond the 28 watts maximum that Intel has set for this chip. I'm not too sure why, but in this video we are not going to go in depth about those performance and technical specs and whatnot. If you want to know more about those, check it out at the top right corner there, where we dive deep into how it actually performs, what's the maximum operating wattage of this laptop, and also how it performs and differs from other 28 watt maximum laptop chips, which are compliant with Intel's maximum. But since this laptop went above and beyond Intel's maximum wattage, we have to talk about the battery life. So the MSI Prestige 14 Evo comes with a 52 watt-hour battery, which sounds decent, but actually it doesn't really last that long. From our use case, we browse through the web as usual, YouTube and whatnot, at silent power profile, 30% brightness with the keyboard brightness turned to level 1. The battery life drained pretty quickly, and we managed to get from 100 to nearly dead in about 5 hours or so. If we go for YouTube streaming, well, I streamed for a 1 hour video and it just drained 30% all the way through. Yeah, and we are not too sure why this is happening, but we do suspect it's because the Intel Core i7-1185G7 in this laptop here is constantly running at a very high wattage, even though it is at silent power profile. And then the screen. This laptop comes with a 14-inch screen, as the name suggests, and thanks to its really slim bezels all around the screen here, I actually managed to squeeze this laptop into a 13-inch laptop sleeve that I have lying around, and that is actually without issues as well. The screen colors actually look decent and there's nothing really wrong with it. There's no complaints at all. So I've been doing a lot of video watching, some lightweight video editing, and also some photo editing. This is pretty much no problems in terms of screen. And the screen lid, as you can see here, it also props up the laptop by quite a lot. It gives a very ergonomic typing experience in most cases, but well, for me, I think it's a bit too extreme compared to some other laptops that did this. And one thing I like the most about this hinge is that the ability to open to virtually 180 degrees flat, which I really like. Referring back to Intel's Evo certification aspects, I'll skip both the Wi-Fi and MoFlow thing here because Wi-Fi 6 is pretty common nowadays. And also, SSDs will allow the laptop to wake up really fast, so I would say, yeah, those two aspects are pretty common nowadays. But as for ports, this laptop comes with double Thunderbolt 4 on the left side, and then you got a combo audio jack on the right, a microSD card slot, and also a USB 2.0 port. Why MSI? You got two of the fastest ports available to date, USB Thunderbolt 4. Yeah, it's technically USB 4 and also Thunderbolt 4, those both kind of mixed together. And then we have a USB 2.0 Type A on the right side. It's like you have the best here and also the slowest here. I'm not too sure what's happening here, but I do wish that at least you give a USB 3.0 port. That would be great. I do understand that MSI is giving you USB 2 because they kind of expect you to plug in a mouse instead. But then again, since it's a Type A, I would kind of prefer a USB 3.0 port then, because I can plug in some not so legacy products for fast file transfers. So maybe my external SSD or my external hard disk, USB 3.0 will be real good. And of course, we need to talk about the keyboard. The keyboard on this laptop is actually pretty good. Good typing experience. It's tactile, springy, and also just overall enjoyable to type on. There's also an extra column of keys on the far right side, and the shift key on the right is also shortened by a bit because the arrow key cluster is shifted up to take up those space as well. It does take some getting used to, but overall I think this keyboard layout is actually pretty good. But MSI still included double backslash keys, not too sure why. But for programmers, maybe you'll find this useful, but for most users, yeah, no. And also, thank you MSI for including a dedicated print screen button. But also, no thank you MSI, because you put the power button right beside the print screen button, which I accidentally pressed a few times, and eventually I just disabled the power button in the power options menu anyway. So that's not really a big deal. Still, it's something to take note. And lastly, this laptop has an ultra-wide trackpad, which actually is really good on its own. It glides well, it tracks well, clicks well, and it also has a fingerprint scanner at the top left corner of the trackpad. Unfortunately, the palm rejection is still an issue, despite it being above average. Sometimes I can still see the cursor disco dancing on the screen. It's not common, but it still happens every once in a while. Overall, I really do like the MSI Prestige 14 Evo that we have here. It's actually a great laptop. It's really lightweight, relatively thin, and most important of all, this hinge, even though, yeah, it does raise the laptop by quite an extreme, but it's important for extra cooling because this laptop runs beyond that 28 watts maximum wattage. But there are a few shortcomings for this laptop, but to me, they are not really a huge deal. For example, I really do wish to see a touchscreen for this laptop in particular. That would be extremely useful, also because this hinge can go all the way back. Having a touchscreen would be the most suitable use case in tandem with this hinge. And also the ultra-wide trackpad, maybe you can shrink it back in terms of size and also ignore the entire touch palm rejection issue with a touchscreen. So at the end of the day, for the price of 5,199 ringgit, what you get from this laptop is obviously the Intel reference design laptop, so you are getting the best of what Intel has to offer for this current generation of laptop chips. But it kinda has the diminishing return problem here, because for the price you're paying, you're not really getting that much in comparison with other laptops that are running the Intel Core i7 1165G7, which costs quite a lot less. So yeah, that's all we want to say about the MSI Prestige 14 Evo. Still a really nice laptop, but the price is what I'm concerned about. And we'll see you in the next video.